Alex Pereira tweeted out that he's potentially retiring. Bo Nickal responds to his loss to Rainier DeRitter, who is fighting at UFC 317, and Robert Whittaker versus RDR potentially in the works. That's all the topics I want to discuss in this video today, guys. If you guys enjoy these types of news videos, do me a favor and drop a like. It lets me know that you guys like these kind of videos and to keep making them. So let's get right into it. Alex Pereira tweets this out earlier. I've always answered the UFC's calls, but if they want to play with me, we can do that. I've never spoken poorly of the UFC, but with what I've just heard, I'm disheartened. I've already had thoughts of not fighting anymore, and after what was just relayed to me, this may be the start. Now, this is very interesting because it came out about 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, about an hour after this post was made on his Twitter that he was hacked. He said in the Instagram post he was hacked and that he has a great relationship with the UFC, and he did not make this tweet, but this is an extremely suspicious tweet to me because, I don't know, it does. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, damn, are they not giving him the Ankalaev rematch? Are they not paying him? Like, does he not want to fight in Abu Dhabi, so he's mad at the UFC for that? I didn't know what to make of this, but what do you guys think of this? Do you guys think that Alex Pereira was actually hacked, or did he post this emotionally and then he was like, maybe I shouldn't have posted that, and instead of owning it, he just claimed he was hacked? Because I don't know, man. Why would someone hack you to put like such a what seems like a very genuine and like heartfelt message towards the UFC? I don't know. It just seems I'm not trying to call him a liar, but listen, it seems suspicious that he posted this and then claimed that it was a hacker after. I don't know, because it seems genuine. It seems real. Seems like something Alex Pereira would say. But let's hope that it was a hacker and all is well with the UFC, because the next fight that we all want to see is Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. That's the fight to make, and we're either going to get that at UFC 319 or 320. It's most likely going to be in Abu Dhabi, the rematch. You know, Ankalaev literally gets his pants wet for Abu Dhabi. If it was up to him, he'd only fight there. This guy, anyways. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev probably will go down in October in Abu Dhabi, which is a bit of a disappointment for me because that's so much time in between fights. But if we should be used to it right now. By now, 7-8 months is one per title defense for each champion is what we get. So yeah, it's interesting, guys. Do you think that Alex Pereira intentionally made this tweet and then changed his mind and then claimed it was a hacker, or do you think that it really was a hacker and Alex's situation with the UFC is totally fine? Let me know what you guys think about this, but interesting stuff. Moving on, Bo Nickal responded to his loss against Rainier DeRitter, and you know what? I respect Bo Nickal because he's handling the loss well. I didn't know what to expect. I guess in my mind, I thought he was going to come out with a giant coping session about his weight cut and about all this, but to my surprise, Bo Nickal actually took accountability for what happened in the fight, and he just admitted that the other guy was better. I'll let you have a listen to what Bo Nickal had to say about the fight on the Ariel Helwani show. I'll let it play right now.
I think I look at a guy that in RDR that I competed against, who he's good everywhere, right? Like, he has many knockout finishes, many submissions. He's got decent wrestling, and so, going in, like, I'm just trying to win the fight, and so he was overall just like more well-rounded and more skilled, more experienced than me. And really at the end of the day, like that's what it comes down to. Like, he was a better fighter, and now I know I need to get better, right? Like, my goal still remains the same. And so I think that with my skill set and what I've been able to do so far, like, there's still so much room to improve. And I knew that going in, but now I think that's even emphasized more, having been, exposed like that.
He even admits at the end of that clip that he was exposed, which is good. This is what we needed from Bo Nickal. We needed a guy who was level-headed that said, you know what? The other Rainier DeRitter was more experienced, he was more skilled, and he exposed me, and he showed that he was just a better guy on that night. I think this is the best possible response from Bo Nickal. And it comes from you see a lot of guys lose, like Chito Vera, and instead of taking accountability for the losses, they make excuses on what their opponent did or what the ref did. But Bo Nickal is facing the head on, and he's saying, you know what, the other guy was better on the night. I took a L. It happens. The goal still remains the same. I still want to be champion. I still want to get better. And yeah, man, really good to see out of Bo Nickal. I really think that this fight loss against Rainier DeRitter could be a blessing in disguise for a guy like Bo Nickal. He needed to be humbled a bit. He was talking a big game, talking about Hamzat before he even sniffed the top 15. And Like even before he made his UFC debut, he was talking a huge game. And I get it, be confident in yourself, but there's also being confident and there's turning the entire MMA fan base against you. And I think that's what he was doing. So good to see a bit of humbleness out of Bo Nickal. And I hope he improves, man. I still think it's going to be a tough road for him in the UFC. I am concerned regarding his striking game because this is a guy that's been training his striking, 3-4 years now. And the fact that he only really has overhand is kind of concerning. I don't really see anything else out of his striking. And, I understand that some of these guys spend a lifetime striking, right? And stuff like that. But you can have better striking. I mean, look at Daniel Cormier. He was able to develop his striking in his MMA career. Henry Cejudo developed his striking second half of his MMA career. You can do it. And maybe Bo Nickal just needs a little bit more time. But I don't know, man. I saw Brendan Schaub come out and say he thinks that Bo Nickal should just throw striking to the side. He's never going to be a good striker and just completely go all in on his grappling. And I don't know if I agree with that, because at the end of the day, like, if what happens when Bo Nickal can't get a takedown? Because let's be real. I know he's confident in his wrestling, but we talk about it all the time. American wrestling just does not translate to UFC dominance and grappling. We just haven't seen that in a long time. Who was the last one? DC? I mean, Henry Cejudo, he was able to take guys down, but he's never able to dominate guys. And he was an Olympian. So it's like American wrestling just, it don't hit the same in the UFC like the Caucasus regions wrestling. It's a different ball game. So if Bo Nickal was to go all in on his grappling, right, and just completely abandon his striking, if he couldn't get the takedown, he's going to get fried again on the feet. And from what we've seen in his UFC career, you can stop a takedown from Bo Nickal, or at the very least, if he takes you down, you can get up. Reinier de Ridder got up. He struggled to take Cody Brundage down in moments. So I disagree. I mean, shocker, I disagree with Brendan Schaub. Go figure. But yeah, I think that's a terrible idea. He definitely should work on his striking. But what I think that would be better for Bo Nickal, and I know this is not going to happen, but what I think he should have done before he ever came to the UFC is he should have gotten a longer amateur career, right? He should have had like 5 to 6 amateur fights, and then he should have went like 5-0 as a pro and then made his UFC debut. That would have gave him time to fight lower level competition and not have to kind of grow with the UFC and worked on his striking. He could have been working on his striking against B-level competition in tomato cans versus working on it with a guy like Reinier de Ridder or Paul Craig, It's a different ball game because there comes a point in the UFC where there's no more easy matchups for you, Bo Nickal's had the easy matchups. He's fought the Jamie Pickett's and the Cody Brundages and even the Paul Craig. So it's like after Reinier de Ridder, it's like, okay, how long can we feed this guy lower level competition before it's like, okay, he's not going to be able to beat anybody? Because I'm going to be honest, with his current skill set, I don't see him beating anybody inside the top 15. It's tough for Bo Nickal. Like I said, I really wish he would have went about his MMA career a little bit better in terms of like getting experience outside the UFC. Learning in modern day UFC while on the job is a very, very hard thing to do. Some of these guys have trained their entire life for this. And I understand Bo has a wrestling background, but that just ain't enough in 2025, man. Guys are training specifics. They're training everything to be well-rounded for 20, 30 years now. So, yeah, like I said, good to see Bo Nickal take the loss in stride. I hope to see him better. I know I roasted him a bit, but let's be real, he deserved it. He kind of put his foot in his mouth with all the Hamzat yapping and all that, but it's good to see him take the loss on the chin like a man, like he should. And I think this will gain him some fan back. People are going to be like, you know what? He's being respectful. He's admitting he needs to improve in the gym, and he's admitted RDR exposed him. He was a better fighter. So I don't think you could have asked for more out of Bo Nickal. Good response. And the next thing, this was a bit of a shocker. And, I wasn't going to report about this, but I saw multiple, not just one, but like 5 or 6 sources through Reddit, Google, Twitter, that Robert Whittaker versus Reinier de Ridder is reportedly in the works to happen next. No date or event nailed down yet, just being planned. Very interesting. RDR literally fought, 4 days ago at UFC Des Moines, and this guy's literally looking to speed run his UFC career because, dude, if Reinier de Ridder was able to get a win over Robert Whittaker, we all know what happens when you beat Robert Whittaker. You get into that top 5 and you're talking about a title eliminator like Nasruddin Imavov. Well, no, like Hamzat Chimaev and like Dricus du Plessis, This is interesting, this matchup. You know what? I know Hamzat just steamrolled Whittaker, but I don't think Reinier de Ridder's wrestling is on the level of Hamzat. So I honestly would favor Whittaker in this fight, assuming his teeth are not completely jacked. I would favor Whittaker to come and beat RDR. I think he'd be able to keep it on the feet, and I like RDR. He's got some dangerous striking, but I think Whittaker would absolutely school him on the feet. And this is assuming we're getting prime Bobby Knuckles. We don't know how Bobby Knuckles is going to come back after that Hamzat defeat. That was a tough defeat. He got choked out and his teeth kind of broken out of place in the first round. I know he had an issue with his teeth before, but Robert Whittaker's been out since October now, so he's been out for what, 7 months? It'd be nice to get a Robert Whittaker fight this summer. So I hope this is some credible sources coming out with this rumor of this fight, Rainer DeRitter versus Robert Whittaker. I guess we're going to see in the coming days. If it is, man, shout out to Rainer DeRitter. This dude fought 3 times in the last 6 months and is already looking to book a 4th fight with Robert Whittaker. This guy is not playing around. He's coming for everybody's head at middleweight. But like I said, I do think the striking of Robert Whittaker will pose too much of a problem for a guy like Rainer DeRitter, and Robert Whittaker will probably just win like a 29-28 decision. Or if they do like a headline of a fight night, it could be 5 rounds. I still think Robert Whittaker will win. I think he has the better cardio. I think he has the better takedown defense and the way better striking. And I think he has the takedown defense to keep it on the feet in order to school Rainer DeRitter where he'd be at his weakest, which would be in the striking. I know he finished Bo Nickal in the striking, but Bo Nickal and Robert Whittaker are 2 different levels of strikers, and we've seen that across Whittaker's career. So I'm excited for this matchup. If it does happen, I will be picking Robert Whittaker. But let me know what you guys think about that matchup in the comments. And last but not least, I want to talk about who's fighting at UFC 317, you know? Because not only do we not have a main event, we don't have a single fight on the entire card. And every time at the UFC press conferences, they're asking Dana White who's fighting, and he just kind of shrugs it off or pretends like he didn't hear the question. Yeah, what's that? What's the question? Yeah, we're figuring this thing out. You know, the typical Dana White pretend like he didn't hear a hard question. He does it all the time. But like I said, we don't have a main event. We don't have a single fight on the card, and we're 6 weeks out. Like, the UFC continues to do this crap where they're charging $80, $90 for these cards, and we're less than 2 months out and we don't even know who's fighting on the card. Like, I know we have Ilya saying he's in camp. We know there's rumors that Islam Makhachev is waiting on the result of 315 to decide if he's going to fight JDM or if he's going to stay at 155 if Belal wins and fights Topuria, or Arman Sarukian, which I don't think they're going to do the Arman Sarukian fight. I'll explain in a second. And there's rumors, I know it was reported by Chael, but I saw a couple other people talking about it too, that Aspinall versus Cyril Gane maybe is a co-main event for International Fight Week, the second defense of Aspinall's interim title, which I love because that just makes John Jones look like even more of a pussy. But either way, I'm just frustrated, man. Who is fighting at UFC 317? We haven't gotten a single fight. Like, can they at least announce a prelim fight, you know? Like, who's going to be on the main card? I'm trying to think of some matchups that could be put on this card, and I'm drawing blanks. Maybe because like it's 6 weeks out from this point, so maybe the UFC has already built the card behind the scenes. You know, maybe they already have the entire card, and they're waiting on the main event to announce it all at once to generate big hype. Because, you know, a lot of times the UFC doesn't like to like sprinkle in the fights on the card, like, oh, we have this fight on this card, and then 2 weeks later we have this fight. They like to announce it all at once, so they can say UFC 3. Dana can get on his Instagram account with his bald ass head. UFC 317 is absolutely stacked from top to bottom. I guarantee you that's what they're going to try to do. But man, I gotta be honest, these cards are weak lately. 315, 313, 317, 312. These cards all have been really crappy, dude. So I really hope, and this is me being optimistic, because the UFC has proven recently that it can't do anything right. And with Dana White promoting boxing officially, I really hope that whoever is working on this fight card behind the scene, Hunter Campbell, McMaynard, all those guys, I hope they cook up something good for us fans, man, because I really, really, really need better UFC events. The next month of UFC fights are just absolutely atrocious. It's an embarrassment, man. If you're a fan of the sport, this next month is very disappointing. This card this weekend with Joe Alvarez being pulled off of it is very mid now. I mean, who else is there on the main card, dude? A WMMA title fight in the co-main event that really nobody cares about. Belal Muhammad versus JDM. We're all praying JDM wins. So it's like, if it is going to be Islam versus Topuria, why can't the UFC just announce that, man? It's literally the biggest fight right now in the UFC. Because Jones ain't fighting Aspinall. That's clear. So Makhachev Topuria is the biggest fight in the UFC. That is actually going to happen. And I don't know if the rumors are true that Islam is waiting on the result of 315 to see if Belal wins, to see if he wants to move up, which is low-key disrespectful to Belal. Even Belal came out to talk about that. And he said, look, man, if I'm Islam, just book your next fight. Start training, because I'm not leaving the belt. I'm not leaving without the belt in Canada, which I think that low-key is a sneak diss on Islam's part. The fact that he's even waiting to see if Belal is going to lose, to see if he's going to go up and fight Belal, JDM, just goes to show that Islam thinks Belal can lose, and he's not confident in his training partner. That definitely gave me a giggle. And if you guys have seen, Islam posted on his Instagram story that he posted a post with a guy at Dana White and it said double champ next or something like that. So Islam maybe it is true. Maybe he's waiting on the result of UFC 315 this weekend, which is just what? We're 3 days out, and I'm excited, man. I'm ready for UFC 315 because I'm hoping, what I'm hoping is, right, at the post-fight press conference, depending on the winner, I'm hoping Dana White gets on the mic and says, all right, guys, I got your UFC 317 main event. And I guarantee you that's probably what's going to happen. Dana White's going to come out on the UFC 317 post-fight press conference, and he's going to reveal that the main event is official, Ilya versus Islam, or whoever it is. Tom Aspinall is going to be on the card. They're going to announce a whole bunch of other fights, and it's going to be breaking news. I hope that's what happens, because if they don't announce this fight after UFC 317, the same night of, what are they doing, man? I mean, 317 is June 28th. It's May 7th. So we're 6 weeks out, as I said, and not a single fight on the card, not a prelim, not a main card opener, not a prelim headliner, not a main event, not a co-main event, not a single card. If you go to the UFC website, UFC 317 literally says to be determined versus to be determined. So, yeah, we don't know, man. And as a fan, I want to see Islam versus Tapori. I think skill for skill, it's one of the best fights you could do right now. And given the recent events that came up with Arman Sarukian, if you guys haven't heard, Arman turned down a fight with Gamrot in the Apex, I believe, and he deemed it as disrespectful. The UFC is really trying to stick it to Arman to pull him out one day before his fight. And listen, so it's obviously not going to be Arman. No one cares about Gaethje fighting for a title again. Please, Ilya's in training camp. Here's what I think. I'll tell you you guys what I think. I know I've talked about, I've been beating this dead horse forever, but I think that Islam Makhachev is going to fight JDM if he beats Belal at UFC 317. I think Islam will move up. He will vacate his lightweight title. And let me tell you why I think so. Ilia Topuria said he will be fighting for the undisputed lightweight belt, whether it's Islam or not, at UFC 317, right? He's in training camp. So that tells me that Islam is awaiting to see if Belal Muhammad loses to JDM. If he does, Islam vacates his title, or the UFC allows him to keep his belt, fight JDM, and then vacate after he labels himself as double champ. But I don't think so. I think if Ilya is claiming he's going to be fighting for the undisputed title, Islam moves up to fight JDM, vacates the title, and then they do Ilya versus Charles for the undisputed belt at UFC 317. I think that's what's going to happen. Or Ilya versus Gaethje. I'd be more excited for Ilya versus Charles, but screw all that. But I've never in my life wanted to Belal Muhammad to win a fight until now. I need Belal Muhammad to beat JDM by 49-46 grappling smudge fest so I can see Islam versus Ilya, because that's the most exciting fight for me as a fan right now. And yeah, man, I think us fans are just tired of sitting around and waiting for who's going to be at 317. We just want an answer. Dana needs to get his bald ass together and announce a fight, or get us a new promoter, because Dana White is doing jack all these days. He's yapping about Power Slap, yapping about Terrence Crawford versus Canelo. Nothing to do with the UFC. We need a promoter that just sticks to the UFC and nothing else. But yeah, who do you guys think is fighting at UFC 317? What do you guys think of all this news? Let me know in the comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'm out. Deuces.